Hello everybody, welcome to your Ethereum update for today. So we're going to keep this one fairly short. Once again, Ethereum I tend to just trade on the higher time frames, 4 hour and above. And we've seen exactly what we were talking about in yesterday's update. So of course I did do the update video yesterday when Ethereum was somewhere down here. Let's zoom in a little bit. It was yesterday morning. It was chilling down here somewhere and we were seeing this move down. And what we were talking about was the probability that we're going to get a move down to 3,400, because what that gives us is, first of all, a really nice gap here on the 4 hour. Okay, we had of course tested this one previously where we had this range that had formed here. We had that spike down that cleaned up this 4 hour candle before making a new high, and then we've come and got a decent corrective move back down to take out the next 4 hour candle that is a little bit lower and to come into another gap there. And there is good confidence, there is good confluence for this. So in addition to the whole move down that we've just had here, if we are to add on our fixed range volume profile for this, since we put in this high, we can see this is about where we were yesterday. We did get that moved back down below, which came close to this other high volume node here, but just moved into this low volume area. So within this whole range, it has just been very little interest in price around 3,400, which is why I was thinking that if we are to see some kind of capitulation, that's likely where we end up, because there just simply isn't acceptance there. The idea that we're going to like trade into this and hold and then continue lower just wasn't likely, because there just hasn't been that acceptance here previously. Every time that it's moved through it very quickly, or has had like, and on this occasion we're getting that bounce from this zone. So what would be quite nice to see now is for this area just below this POC to start filling out a little bit. However, we do have to be aware that there is FOMC today. Of course, with Bitcoin, that has led to big moves up previously, and Ethereum with this move down being so fast, if we do have a look at the move down that we've had, there really hasn't been any levels of, it's just done nothing. Okay, all our volume was at the high and then we just gone all the way down towards these lows and getting a decent bounce over this so far. So wherever you draw this from, essentially, we've come down, tested that point of control. And what we also have here is, if we are to look at this as a range as a whole, you go from your high up here, take that down to your low. We have tested into that midpoint, that EQ of this range. So a similar situation to Bitcoin, right? Where with Bitcoin, it had this big range that had formed, and then we had the range on the lower half, and then now we're having the range on the upper half of this. Similar with Ethereum as well. So we had this initial range that had formed back in March and April. We then went and reaccumulated down just beneath that range, so range lows down here. And then what are we seeing now is we are seeing a new range start to form up at the highs, which is kind of split by the EQ, by the point of control, very similar to what we have seen on Bitcoin. Now, if you have a look on the ETH BTC pair, then where did I have my alerts yesterday? I was saying in the video update yesterday, and when I did the video update yesterday, we were hovering around here at around about like 0.053 ish yesterday. And I was saying we want to see this move down to 0.052 to 0.05, and that is the area in which I would look to bid. So that is what I have done. I have bidded in Ethereum. This has been historically a really nice SR level around here. So you can see support, 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 flips, resistance, 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 flips, support. Hopefully, right? That's the idea. We want to see this hold as support right now. And the alert that I had was at that 0.052 BTC per Ethereum. And we have since seen a relatively decent bounce from there. So this zone looking pretty good. We had been expecting this to happen since it was up here. Okay, that's why I drew this. We got a bit of an inverse head and shoulders up here. We are expecting this to break down, and that is precisely what we have done. And there is also some confluence. If you do draw a fib from here to here, where is this? Similar to what we have seen on the USDT pair, the USD pair, is we have come down to around about the midpoint of, since we had that impulse higher, right? We're around about that midpoint, depending on where you're drawing that from and so on. But we've come into roughly a 50% retrace, which is where it was starting to look like really, really good value here. So Ethereum's looking pretty good. With everything else on here, we do have this 4-hour AB, so you can see that because we'd had this resistance, it did use this as a bit of a pit stop previously. We've come down, taking out these lows and getting a bit of a bounce. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we do just come a little bit lower. Of course, I am looking that 0.05 could be of interest as well. But if you're looking at a zone in which to become very interested in ETH, I think this is that zone. We are there. And if we can get a bit of a bounce underway, then I do believe that it's going to be very, very nice for Ethereum. I really do. I think we're going to have a decent rally. So we'll see how this goes. Obviously, Bitcoin dependent very much right now. So the whole market is very much Bitcoin dependent. But if we can get a little bit of strength, a little bit of a bounce from both Bitcoin and on the ETH BTC pair, then we could see this move down recovered relatively quickly. Now, we have a situation today. I'm not going to go on to the lower time frames, but okay, where did we have the daily open? Let's just mark this on the chart, because what we have seen today is interesting. Again, similar to what we've had on Bitcoin, where there was a drop down overnight. This came into just a little bit of a gap that we had on the 30-minute. All right, look at that. Look at that. Just a lovely little test into that gap. A nice retrace, bounce, reclaim daily open, and now we're testing back into where we have these lows from back in May. Okay, testing back into that, similar to what we have done on BTC again. And of course, when we're looking at our monthly levels, we are on here quite significantly below monthly open. So Ethereum has been really underperforming, really, really underperforming. So with Bitcoin, we're like right at the monthly open right now, but on ETH, we're a good 6-7% down from that. And we did at some point go 10% lower than that yesterday. So a 10% underperformance from Ethereum. It would be nice to see that start to recover and start to form a range again here. So everything's looking okay on ETH if we're holding this area. Of course, if Bitcoin does dump a little bit further, this can search a little bit further, but 3,400 was the level I was expecting. That is the level that we had. And on the ETH BTC pair, that 0.052 was the level that we were expecting, and that is the level that we have seen. So in a cautious long position right now, starting to get back into ETH spot, looking pretty decent here. But be aware that there could be a bit more downside to come. It very much depends on what Bitcoin does and whether this low holds or whether we are just to start searching down a little bit lower. So I think that's everything on Ethereum. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll update on ETH again tomorrow. Cheers, bye bye.